Hey everyone. Hi Carol. Welcome. Welcome everyone. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. I always say minutes, but that's forever in YouTube time. I'll just give it a couple more seconds for people to come online. But I just wanted to first make you all aware that tonight, or it's my tonight, but in a little bit today, we are having an Ascension Circle in the Ascension Bank, which is a community that I've put together to assist people in a more intimate space so we can get a little bit more deeper into some of these conversations that we have. And the Ascension Circle happens every week, and it is an intimate circle for us to share our experiences. It's an interactive thing. I do it on Zoom, so everybody has a chance to share, to be seen, to be heard, and to be supported in your journey. Because I'm going to share today a pretty vulnerable experience that I'm in at the moment, and I know vulnerability is a scary place to go to. So in these ascension circles, there is a beautiful, beautiful space that we create for everyone to share if they like. There's, it's not mandatory, but it just helps when sometimes we hear our own voices talk about our experiences in a circle that is in the like mind, to be able to hear it and to support it and not argue or try to change it, but just simply to support and allow you to use your voice. It's a really, really beautiful circle. So if you think that this is beautiful, it is. We go even deeper and into a little bit more of an intimate space, and I'd like to invite y'all to come in there. And I'm going to get started. Like I said, I come in here a little bit raw in the heart today, and wanted to share something that inspired the message, which is it's about surrendering to the tsunami, and it's an extension. It's, I can give you a message, or what the message that comes in to give and to share is really what is coming up for me. And I know what I experience in my own life is also a collective experience. So that's why I started to share in these daily tune-ins some of the energies that are going on at a specific time. And the crux of the message in the last couple of days has been around holding the line of consciousness with everything that's going on globally. It's going to be ramping up. It's going to be ramping up in individual lives. Hello, Aubrey. Hi, and Isabel. Good morning to you. Oh, I love that it's a ritual for you. I love rituals. I think there's such powerful and beautiful moments of presence, and to call this a ritual, Isabel, is a great honor. So thank you for allowing it to be a ritual, and it is a ritual for me to tune into what the message is for each day. And the one for today was really obvious, and it came in yesterday. So we had yesterday's daily tune in, and we were talking about the holding the line of consciousness and allowing ourselves the frame of mind, the awareness of mind, the awareness of consciousness, and to be in our fully integrated space to hold the line as changes take place in our physical worlds. And it's easy when I give these to think of it as a global thing. But when these instances and occurrences of change happen in our own individual lives, they can be quite upsetting. They can be quite surprising. So I want to share something that happened for me, because it brought up a lot of understanding. It brought up a lot of connections that were made in my own life that I believe will help you as well. So after I finished the daily tune-in, I've talked about it quite a bit on the daily tune-ins, that I've had an amazing support group that I've been a part of for over a year now. And the support group has become a staple. It's become something stable in my life, when everything in this past year and a half has been completely unstable. The plan that was made for us to go on this journey to up level our life, and has completely, pretty much immediately fell apart. And my husband and I have been on this journey of trusting and following in full faith, pretty much. And the whole lesson of surrender has had to keep presenting itself in our lives in this last year and a half for us to really trust that process. It hasn't gotten easier at the, but I've become more and more and a deeper into a deeper understanding of the process of surrender. And after last night, I had my normal call with this group that I've been a part of for a long time. And this group has been, for some reason, it's just been getting out of resonance for me. There's no reason really to give it. I can kind of come up with some logical ideas, but when it's all said and done, logic doesn't always have to come in place. When something or someone or a circumstance or a job feels out of resonance, it's simply saying that thing, that circumstance is falling out of the consciousness of which you are in at the moment. And I say at the moment because it doesn't mean it's always going to be out of resonance. It might be forever out of resonance. However, it might be that the resonance is found somewhere along the pathway. But I know when we find something or someone that's out of resonance, it is a really it usually will be a sign of something that is stable in our lives. And because this group has brought such stability, I have not acted on for the better portion of 6 to 7 weeks. I haven't acted on that dissonance, the dissonance that I was feeling. Because quite frankly, I know better, but because this has been such an important part of my life, I didn't want to go and find the logical reasons. I just wanted to believe that it'll just get better. I've been in that situation before. And I'm going to share really vulnerably here because I have the ability to share vulnerably. I'm willing to. And I do this so that you can kind of see how this shows up in a life, in, someone's life. So if something resonates with you along this message, pay attention to it. And I've mentioned in my first marriage that, when at one point I did walk in on him with another woman, and I stayed in that marriage for an extra 9 years after that. And in that 9 years there was so much growth, but my ego told me, oh, I'm staying in it for our kids. I'm working on it, I'm trying to fix it, when my heart knew it was not going to be fixed. But what had come to realize that in those 9 years, I was unwilling to surrender because it was like one of the only things that was stable in my life. And although that is so unhealthy, it's so obviously unhealthy, in it, stability was what I wanted when everything in my life was completely unstable. So the act of surrender was pushed, kept being pushed away because I was safer in the dissonance of the relationship. I felt like I was safer in the dissonance than creating the shutting the door on the marriage, shutting the door on this group that I was part of. I would rather stay in the dissonance of it than shut the door on it and go into the unknown, which means you're in the surrender of what comes next. What have I just made space in? What hallway did I just go and stand in? And remember, we talked about the hallway. When one door closes before the other one opens, it's really uncomfortable in that hallway. That hallway is where surrender happens. That hallway is where we are supposed to be when we choose to shut the door on the dissonance, on the thing that we have got to have enough closure on to leave it behind, and have enough faith in that hallway that if it is supposed to be in our lives, if it is meant to be, if our soul chose this person, this circumstance, this group to be in our lives, that once we walk through another doorway and ascended higher, that this person would eventually catch up with us and we would meet again. But that chance, that faith in that surrender is what keeps us from moving ahead. So we want to pull these old parts of our lives with us wherever we go, even though they are out of resonance with us. Last night, I had to finally, I was forced to do it. I was forced to cut the connection. I was forced to close the door on this beautiful group. And I grieved last night. But as it always happens, when we shut the door and we're standing in the hallway, we get these nuggets of beautiful reminders of something for us to kind of grasp onto. Even though we don't have a doorknob, so to speak, or a door to open right away, we get these beautiful reminders from spirit, from our soul, that we are standing in that hallway in full faith, and there is an appreciation of that choice. After I shut the door on that group and finally got the courage to, I didn't really get the courage, quite frankly. It was presented to me, and I had no other choice because my soul wouldn't allow me to stay in it. It had to be truthful. It had to express my truth, and it was hard to do. It was scary, and it was sad, and yet I did it. I got off the call, and I was extremely upset. And my husband and I decided to eat some dinner, and we were watching on Netflix the Netflix show Cheer, and we watched the finale of it. I won't do a spoiler alert, but there was one part where the coach was in her church, and the pastor was talking about victory, and he was talking about, we get so caught up in all of the distractions of life. We get caught up in the suffering and the pain of life. We get caught up in all the things that are there to bring us a lesson. And we forget that on the other side of those lessons is a great victory. And I then started to marinate on that, and I went to bed or went to the bedroom and was journaling later because I had to get all of this sadness and this grief out. But that sermon that just happened to be shown on this show Cheer that I watched because I love it. I love cheerleading. I love the whole, the athleticism of it. I was journaling, and what came up for me was everything that I'm offering to you today for you to contemplate. And what came up was to remember, I kept getting Vidette, remember, you came into this life, and before you came in, your soul chose the whole path. Your soul knew exactly what the victory was going to be. Your soul came in here knowing exactly how you were going to get to that victory, but the ego started to get conditioned, and the ego started to learn things, and the ego started to learn from those fear-based patterns that we were ingrained in, that we brought in from the generation to generation, those enslavement codes we've talked about last week on the daily tune in, that were in our DNA. I came into this world already programmed to be in fear, and to grasp on to everything that I knew, because that's what the ego does. It hangs on to what it knows and is taught and conditioned to fear change. So I got off of that soul pathway because I was conditioned. And so then all of a sudden I had this whole thing with my ex-husband, and I hung on to not changing because that was something stable. Even though it wasn't healthy, it was still stable, and I knew it, right? Until I got to the point where it got so painful. The suffering became so bad that I did have to finally walk away from it and shut that door, and got on more and more onto my soul's path. And my soul, the further I get into this path, and the more courageous I find myself getting, and being faster with shutting the doors of those things that no longer resonate with my soul. I'm getting braver with doing that, and getting quicker with it. And it doesn't take away the pain, but it takes away the elongation of the experience of pain if we just get to it and get to the shutting of the door, whatever that means. And as I do that faster and faster and get further and further on back onto my soul path, my soul keeps reminding me through faith alone, y'all. I don't have a visual of what this victory is, but I have a knowing that there is something to keep working towards. And it's not until I get there I'll be happy. It's it's working through these days like today where I've had a lot of grief and I've had a lot of sadness because the door has closed, and there is that interim period where we have to grieve what once was, so that we can finally not cure, so we can finally heal ourselves of that part of our life, that the death of something in our life, and move forward towards the victory. And the victory is here in our physical presence, which is our soul designed life, and getting back on that path while we're holding the line of consciousness and not allowing ourselves to dip down into the victim stage of poor me, my group fell apart, or it didn't fall apart. I walked away from the group. Oh, poor me, I don't have my stability anymore. Oh, poor me. That's not where I am. I'm grieving it, yes, but still holding that line. It takes a lot of work in consciousness to hold that line we've been talking about, of how far we've grown, we've come up. Oh, hey, honey, excuse me once. Andrew's calling. Do you want to grab this, please? Sorry, this is a guy that's working on a ride out of here, or you might want to hurry because it's like, will you go out there? Sorry, guys. We are working, so as we work towards that, getting back on our soul's pathway, that's what this whole rise in consciousness is. It's rising back up to match that vibration, to match the vibrational resonance of our soul designed path. We got so far from it collectively and individually that now we're having to close these doors to the ego-led designed life and get up into the higher frequencies of our soul design life. And that means that we have to let some parts of our past, of some parts of our ego designed life that were actually really good, we have to let that go. There's a book, I don't know if any of you have ever read it. I've yet to finish this book because it's so good that I'll read something, I'll read one of the passages or the stories, and then just be like, oh my gosh, I have to marinate on it. And then like a year later, I'm still marinating. But one of the ones, it's Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola. Estes is her last name. So there's a myth, and she goes back into the myths and the stories of the wild woman archetype. And one of the myths is all about how there is, we're taught that we were born and then we die, and in between there are these enslavement codes that we've been designed with, coming into in our DNA, that we are now purging. This is what we've been purging for the last year. In between there, we are taught to fear the death, don't want it, like you don't want to die. And yet what these women have passed down for generations to generation to generation is, in that lifetime there is a life death, life death, life death, pattern. Like in one living lifetime there are lifetimes of living. So we have to be willing to let one lifetime die to allow the next version of ourselves in that one living lifetime to emerge and to be expressed. So what I knew last night, after I got through the pain, like the big tsunami of pain, and once I got through the tears of grief, I'm still there, but I had to get the big washout, right? I had to get the tsunami out. The tsunami comes in and it barrels you over, and I was barreled over with grief and sadness. And then I journaled some of it out. And then, y'all, I just went to bed and I prayed in my own way and just said, help me find clarity in this. Help me find safety in this. Help me find stability in being unstable or uncomfortable. Help me find the next iteration of what that was, because that was a really important part of stability in my life for so long. But because it became out of resonance, my soul was just saying, it's time to shake it loose, babe. It's time. It's time to move into the next iteration of that. I don't know what that looks like, but I had to make space for it. So the universe moved it out. It did what had to be done last night to move it out, so that I could have that death cycle to then move into, yes, the hallway, which is a little uncomfortable, but I'm starting to get more and more comfortable in the surrender into the hallway, knowing that as I stand there in that hallway, my consciousness rises, because the more we stand in the discomfort of faith and trust in what the journey our soul has taken on us, our consciousness rises. So it's kind of like that hallway is like the elevator up into a higher existence. So by the time a door does open, it's opening into a higher expression of reality. So surrendering is so uncomfortable, but it is where we elevate. So if there's something in your life that's feeling out of resonance, pay attention to it and just do what needs to be done to close the door. It doesn't always mean it has to end. I don't know what it looks like for you. You will know what that means for you. We have sun. If I haven't made a big deal about it, typically I do, but there is sunlight today. No, it's all right. It's good. I'm almost done. Um, but if there is something that is out of resonance, pay attention. And this is not the time to ignore it or think it's going to go away. Because if you don't do something about it, the universe, God, universe, spirit will. God, universe, spirit will move it out of your way. And it'll knock you upside the head because it'll come when it's not expected. Last night it wasn't expected, but I can tell you, the more I've sat in the grief of what was, the more enliftment, the more liveliness I have started to feel as the day has gone on, because I know what just happened. I know that I have been put in this hallway to trust the soul designed life that I have already chosen. And that is taking me to the greater victory of what I'm working towards. This is all happening for you as well, sweet soul. It's happening for our collective. So as the tsunami comes in of change that we are seeing, we're seeing it, y'all. It is unfolding. If you're watching what's happening around the world, it's showing up in the craziest of ways. But as I watch it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fascinating how all of this disclosure is happening, how everything is unfolding. It's not anything like I expected. It rarely is, but I'm seeing it happen. It is happening. And we are having to surrender without fear. Surrender is not grabbing fear and taking it with you. Surrendering is being in the hallway and just observing and just saying, okay, I'm in full faith here. It's really uncomfortable, but knowing it is taking you to a higher level of existence. And that is happening in our world. So no matter what is announced, no matter what we see coming forward, surrender to the fear, surrender to the dissonance that you might feel, and allow yourself to just be in the discomfort, because the universe is moving a lot out of our way that has been collectively ingrained in our conditioning. And that what that conditioning has been malevolent, it has been deceiving, and it's moving all of that out of our way in your favor, in my favor, so that we can move into the victory that we already know is there. The light has won. We hear it, we see it on memes everywhere. And that is always what we are moving forward. That is the victory, moving into that higher expression of life where there is abundance for all, there is life expressed for all, and we are the ones that are holding the line for that. But in order to hold the line, we've got to get real good with surrender. Okay? I think that's what I've got for you. It's hot. I want to go back here. Hello, all London. Hi, London, Kazembe, Norway, Austin. Love it. Used to live in Austin. Hawaii. Whoa, you made it, Liza, from Hawaii. It's like super, probably still dark early there. What did I miss? A lot, Cam. No, just you can get the replay. It's a beautiful, I don't know. I think it's beautiful. I don't know. It's funny. It's when I get off of these and I'm like, oh, I struggled with whatever I was going to say. I always get messages of people like, I love today. And I'm like, really? So I like, when I think that I'm like, hey, I'm killing it up here, I don't get anything. So who knows if you've missed stuff. I think it's a good message for today, simply because it was very personal for me, but I know that I've gotten really a lot braver with the surrendering and understanding that process more, and still not embracing it fully. When I see it coming, I'm like, oh God, I got to surrender to this. What? And I'll hang on for a little bit longer than I should, but it's getting easier and easier to let things go, to let people go, to let opportunities go that aren't quite in full resonance. And you're waiting for the resonance that like opens your heart, explodes your heart open. You're like, what? Rather than holding on to the things that's like, it kind of feels good. It's all right. It's okay. We are past the time. We are past the days of settling for good. We deserve great, y'all. We deserve full resonance of our soul plan. And we are in that holding of the line energy to actually create it. I just finished that book you did. Yeah, it's a good one. I have to finish it. I brought it out of listen, of a whole house that we got rid of. Everything, think of a stupid like big American house and that you would know about. We got rid of everything in it. We sold things, we let go of things. We have 6 suitcases just behind this computer filled with the most important things in our lives that was like this stuff is worth us lugging 6 suitcases and 2 bikes. This made it. That's how important this book has been to me. So yeah, it's a good one. You did the right thing. I think I know a say and what she stays for. Don't be sad for you. Don't be sad, you beautiful soul. Thank you. I know it's still working its way out. Sadness is still working its way out, but I also know like that's part of the cleansing of the densities, right? When we cleanse our densities, we're cleansing the sadness, and sometimes it has to be triggered by some a beautiful event. It doesn't feel beautiful, it didn't look beautiful, it wasn't beautiful, there was a lot of tears, but there was a beautiful event that I know will be in my heart for a long time. Your lives are always a blessing. Yeah, thank you. The beautiful painting is so vibrant today. So much good energy flowing from that universe. Man, I love that you see that, Christine. I really do. I was gonna do something with it today just to kind of get some more stuff out, but then I took a nap instead. Can you please, what book it is again? I couldn't find a pen fast enough. Yeah, Tara, it's called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And it's by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. So yeah, good stuff. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning, here in a little bit, I'm going to be getting on in the Ascension Bank, and we're going to be going. We're having our Ascension Circle, and this is so beautiful, y'all. Like I wish I could I'm just trying to give it to you from my heart. I'm not trying to sell you into anything because it's not who I am at all. But this group has value, and we come together once a week and do other things within the group. But this is where we bring could bring your personal experiences and say, I've got this going on. And I'm going to share more vulnerably about what I'm talking about. I kind of keep it high level, so there's nothing or no one that's compromised, or anyone else's privacy is given. But in this circle, I share much deeper into my own experiences, and other people have the opportunity to do the same too. Again, it's a healing circle. It's where we get to express our gratitude, our wins, our victories. It's where we get to express our heartaches and our pains, so that we can help each other and support each other in that healing process. So I would love to have you come up by the Ascension Bank. I did put the link in there, and there's also stuff in the archives, and there's plenty of value in there. I promise you that. And if you've gotten value out of today's and you can't, today's daily tune in, you can't join us in the Ascension Bank, by all means, you can buy a girl coffee, and and maybe I'll put a little cognac in it tonight and have a little soothing cup of coffee at the end of the night, to just soothe my soul a little bit. But either way, just the fact that you're here, I so appreciate it, y'all. I appreciate these times. It helps me to move through my stuff and show up for you, even when when life sends you lemons, I'm still showing up, and I'm still bringing as much as I can, because that's how we heal. That's how we hold the line. The line's not always going to be held in like a happy-go-lucky, positive mental attitude. It's sometimes that we're going to have to keep showing up, even when it's a little bit painful too. So thank you for holding this space for me to share vulnerably. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you tomorrow on the next Daily Tune In. Mwah! Have a good one.